What is an FHA mortgage? That is a question that a lot of people have, and there's a lot of misconceptions about FHA mortgages. Now, first of all, do you have to be a first-time home buyer to use an FHA mortgage? No, you don't. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. A lot of times people think that you do because there are down payment assistance programs that are often tied to FHA, which are for first-time home buyers. But FHA itself, that is not a requirement. Okay, next question I get is, what is the minimum down payment for an FHA mortgage? It is 3.5%, okay? Now, the next question I get is, what is the minimum credit score for an FHA mortgage? Now, this is where it gets interesting. It will vary depending on the lender or bank you're talking to. So FHA itself, not super stringent on credit, but lenders all pick where they're comfortable at. So you may talk to one lender that says you have to be a 620. Currently, at guaranteed rate, our minimum is 550. You know, that would be a manual underwrite, but yes, we will go as low as 550, and there's some companies that go lower. So with FHA, the credit score required will depend on the lender. Okay, what are the big things you need to know about FHA? First of all, it is owner occupied, meaning you have to live in that house or intend to live in that house for at least a year. At least a year, guys. So if someone you know is like, oh yeah, use FHA to buy an investment property. No, you can use FHA to buy a property that you live in. It could be a house, it could be a condo, it could be a manufactured home, it could be a townhome, it could be a modular. And with FHA, you can purchase a multi-unit. Yeah, you can purchase a multi-unit, up to 4 units with 3.5% down, but you do have to live in one of the units, okay? I can't stress it enough. So the other things to know about FHA is that as I film this, if you do the 3.5% down, you will have mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. Yeah, and people don't realize this. That's why I wanted to lead with it. It's important that you realize it, because what I'm seeing right now is lenders are going, oh, you should do FHA instead of conventional. In some cases that makes sense, but in others it doesn't. If you have an 800 credit score and your debt to income isn't super high, I would always be going with conventional, you know, most of the time. So look, you always want to make sure you understand why a lender is suggesting FHA over conventional or conventional over FHA. Now, what else do you need to know? FHA has an upfront mortgage insurance premium of 1.75%. Yes, so 1.75% of the loan amount is financed in as an additional charge for FHA. Very important that you recognize that. Now, does FHA generally have lower rates than conventional? In many cases, it does. However, if you qualify for a below area median income loan with conventional, not necessarily. But overall, FHA generally does have lower rates. Okay, and why is that? Well, FHA is insured and backed by the government. That is why all FHA loans are sold to Ginnie Mae. Now, a reason as a lender that I'll often use FHA is higher debt to income. You know, FHA allows for a higher debt to income. FHA is also more forgiving on credit history. You know, if you have a bankruptcy or a short sale, you know, the time frame in order to be eligible for an FHA loan is shorter than conventional. FHA can be great for buying, I would usually say like a 2-unit. On the 3 and 4, it gets a little tricky because it has to pass a self-sufficiency test. But, you know, for a 2-unit, it can be great. So there's a lot that you can do with an FHA loan. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. you can own another home. I mean, that's the thing. If you, let's say you bought a house with VA a couple of years ago and you don't have enough VA entitlement and you want to keep that house, you could buy a house with FHA as long as you intend to live there for 12 months. That's what you need to keep in mind and be aware of. There's so many variances to FHA as well. Like FHA has a lot of shades of gray when I'm looking at the way that it's underwritten. So I do think it's one of the loans where even though there are guidelines, a lot of it is up to underwriter discretion. So I do feel that with FHA, you could definitely have one lender say no, but another say yes. And it's because of their interpretation of the guidelines. Now, are there any special inspections you need with FHA? No. Very similar to conventional, as long as the appraiser doesn't call out any inspections, then the lender will not require any inspections. Appraisal, you're always going to have an appraisal on an FHA loan. No such thing as no appraisal on FHA. In terms of how long it takes to close, I think you can easily close one in 15 days. That's if we order the appraisal as a rush day one, but they're not super tricky to close. You know, if you watch this channel a lot, you know that I always do a fully underwritten pre-approval as a lender, so it makes it really easy to close. But FHA can be a great loan in certain circumstances. I just always put a warning around it, because sometimes lenders put people in FHA when it doesn't actually make sense for the person. It's just an easier sale for the lender because the rate is lower. But remember, there's also that 1.75% fee being financed in and mortgage insurance for the life of the loan unless you refinance or sell the house. So I hope this video was helpful. I'll do more into FHA because there is a point you could get rid of mortgage insurance if you have a larger down payment, but I just wanted to do a brief on what is an FHA loan.